Going to my top 5. At number 5 on this list is Kadyn Proctor, the left tackle from Alabama, who, Dalton, we did our way too early 2026 NFL mock draft immediately after the 2025 NFL draft. We had Kadyn Proctor going number 1 overall in that mock draft. So, freak athlete, man. He's a little bit lower on this list because I think as a prospect, he's a little bit better than what he is right now as a left tackle for Alabama. And he's been the starting left tackle for Alabama in each of the last 2 years. True freshman year in 2023, he took some lumps, but he also got a lot better down the stretch. And since week 8 of 2023, he has a 76.5 PFF grade. That is 8th among all SEC tackles. And he has some elite performances against some elite defensive lines as well. He has 3 games in his career against Georgia and South Carolina. The Iowa native has a 90.4 pass blocking grade in those 3 games with only 1 pressure allowed on 96 pass blocking snaps. He's a dancing bear, man. 6'7", around 360, 370 pounds. Preposterous movement ability at that size. And if he could play at a more consistent level as a junior, he's got the upside of being a top 10 pick in the draft, top 5 pick in the draft, and maybe even Dalton if the right team's picking number 1, like we had in our way too early mock draft, could be the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're talking about a guy with just freakish measurables and athleticism, like you mentioned. And even early in the year last year, he was dealing, I believe, was it with an ankle injury early on that he missed the first 2 games he missed, and then came back and he was excellent. Look, there was a couple of rough games late, but for the season, his pass blocking grade was around a 73. You look at it through week 12, it was an 83.5. So you're really talking about a guy who was hot, had a couple of bad games against Oklahoma and Michigan, and nobody could block Michigan last year, as we know. But I think you're talking about a guy who's got all the tools in the world. I think the technique needs a little bit of work. I think the hand technique needs a little bit of work, and just how to use his length to his advantage against even smaller, faster edge rushers. But the idea here, like you mentioned, is that if you've got a team that doesn't need a quarterback picking first overall or in the top 3 to 5 overall next year, and you just want that prototype tackle, and maybe even bigger than a prototype, that can do everything for you, especially in pass protection, I think this is the type of player. We have to remember, he's not even 20 years old yet, but at the time that we're recording this, he'll be 20 years old this entire season. This is somebody who's got all the potential in the world, just a raw prospect who's got to keep working on the technique, but there's nothing physically that he can't do on a football field. And look, I think you get into this list of these 5 guys that we're starting with here, or that we're getting into now, by the end of the year, they could be number 1 on this list, right? And Kadyn Proctor, I think nobody more so than Kadyn Proctor, just with the sheer ability and the build that he has. You just don't see guys like this come around very often. The one thing I wonder, too, remember when for about 2 weeks or whatever he transferred to Iowa and then he went back? Imagine if he was with these other 2 guys on that Iowa offensive line, too.
Easily the best offensive line in the country.
I might just run the ball every play. I mean, they do anyway up there for the most part. But, man, if you had Proctor along with Jones and Dunker and what they got going on there, it'd be fun. But, no, that state keeps putting out offensive linemen, but this one's at Alabama, and he could be really, really good, especially with the gifts that he has.
Absolutely, yeah. Donnie actually mentioned in the chat that he actually got blocked by Kadyn Proctor on Instagram because he said that his technique was a little raw, like you just did right there. So be a little careful when you're criticizing Kadyn Proctor. You might get blocked like Donnie did on Instagram.
Yeah, but you said Donnie's an Iowa fan. There might have been more that went
yeah. Donnie also said he played against Proctor in high school. He said he's a freak, just unreal. Southeast Polk, which is where Proctor played, powerhouse in the state of Iowa. They were around 6 to 7 Power 4 commits, and he was easily the best player there. Then I said his buddy went up against him, and he said that he got tossed around a little bit.
I'm sure there are certain guys. Sometimes you face guys at the high school level, either playing or coaching against them, and you just throw your hands up. You're just like, there's nothing I can do about that.
Just watch his tape, man, because he's 6'7", 370, and you would think for a guy that size, he could not move at that size. Like we've seen many other massive tackles before. DeJuan Jones is what I was thinking. DeJuan Jones, Ohio State, massive player, but man, his kick slide was alarming because he was too big, right? Proctor, he moves like a guy who's like 320 pounds, right? And so it's just crazy that he has that kind of size and that kind of movement ability. And like Dalton said, if he can improve his hand technique a little bit more, he could be a top 5 pick. And listen, we had the Giants picking number 1 overall in our way too early mock. They didn't really need quarterback or edge rush or something like that, or D tackle. They kind of needed offensive line help, so we had Kadyn Proctor going number 1 overall. Like that's kind of the upside that you have with Kadyn Proctor here, that he could be maybe a number 1 overall or a top 5 or top 10 pick. Just with the athletic tools this guy has is wild, right? He's got some elite tape, like I said, against Georgia and South Carolina too, who have some elite edge rushers that could be first-round picks or were first-round picks, like Michael Williams was as well. So Kadyn Proctor, number 5 on this list. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.